I graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and became an integrative health coach. And it was a wonderful program, really transformative, life-changing program. About half the people that take this online course end up doing it just for their own personal transformation. So if you're someone who loves learning or you're sick of being sick and you want to learn about how to create holistic health in your life and you want to go deeper, especially with a community, you definitely want to check out the Institute for Integrative Nutrition right now. I want you to go to learntruehealth.com/coach. That's learntruehealth.com/coach. It's a brand new sample class that they're giving away for free. Check out the new sample class. Even if you've paid attention to the old sample class, it's free. You're going to learn something. Might as well jump in and check it out. So go to learntruehealth.com/coach. That's learntruehealth.com/coach. About half the people that take it either want to become a health coach or want to add these tools to their already existing repertoire. You will gain a set of tools that'll deepen your ability to help people, to guide people and coach them to better health. But if you don't want to work with people and you just want to dive in for your own personal benefit, that's cool too. It really is for both. Every aspect of your life will be enriched from this program. So I'm a big believer in it. And right now you will get a huge savings. The class starts September, so you want to jump on it. If you're interested, check out the free sample class, learntruehealth.com/coach. If you want to dive in, make sure you contact them. You can do it online and you can also call them in person. If you do it online, make sure that you use the coupon code LTH, because you're going to receive a very large discount. I negotiated the biggest discount that they give anyone for my wonderful listeners. If September has come and gone, don't worry, because they start up new cohorts of students several times a year. Jump into the program no matter when it is. When you're ready to sign up, they unlock the beginning of the course. So you begin your course no matter what. It is really a wonderful personal growth and transformation experience. So be sure to go to learntruehealth.com/coach, check out the free sample class, and remember to use my coupon code LTH. Thank you for sharing this podcast with those you care about. Enjoy today's interview. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 531. I am so excited for today's guest. We have an amazing woman on the show, Lindsey Baillie. You know, I always want to say doctor, but it's start with like Dr. Lindsey Baillie. You're like, not yet. I'm not a doctor yet. Incredible to have worked with you. Lindsey and I have gotten to know each other actually because of my podcast, and she's an expert in the beauty industry, in the holistic skincare. I don't want to go too much into your bio because I want you to explain your journey, but I love what you do because you and I are both so passionate about holistic health. And as we were just talking, I wish I'd hit record while we were like just doing our pre-interview talk, because we were discussing how the beauty industry is more, holistic health is more than just physical health, right? There's a mental health, there's emotional health, there's spiritual health. And one of your passions is the mental health aspect of the beauty industry. And of course, coming at it from a holistic standpoint, that when we heal the body on the inside, our outsides become more beautiful. And you do that. You do that with your clients. So Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And don't worry, I just get the passion picks right back up. So okay. I'll go off about it again.
Lindsey, your website is saltoftheearthskin.com. And we're definitely going to be talking about what you do, because you work with people both in person and virtually around the world to help them overcome really difficult skin issues, really complex skin issues. And that's kind of the plight of the holistic practitioner that you and I both have to deal with, and naturopaths have to deal with, is that a lot of times people come to us as a last resort. You know, they had some skin issues and they went to the doctor, and the doctor gave them drug after drug or antibiotic, and things got progressively worse and worse. And then they go, well, I've exhausted all my, quote unquote, traditional medical, which is just modern, quote, modern drug-based routes of handling it. And And they also notice that their gut health suffered as a result, and their mental health suffers as a result, and the quality of their life suffers as a result. And they don't necessarily see that it's all connected. And then they start to seek holistic advice because they're sick of the side effects of the drugs. The MD has failed them. The drug-based medicine has failed them. And then they find you, and they find holistic alternatives, and the quote unquote alternatives, which is really helping the body come back into balance, supporting the body's ability to heal itself. And through working with you, they overcome, and their skin becomes healthy. But that's the end result, because you help them to heal, help their body heal and come back into balance on the inside. So did I paint the picture correctly? Is that about what you do?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. There's so many correlations to how we care for the skin and how we approach nutrition and just our general health as a whole. So, you go through all those routes and, I have this issue. I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to go to the dermatologist. And, through the drugs they give us or creams and everything they give us, we still haven't got to our goal. So skin, my number one pet peeve about skin is that people look at it as just a mere instrument of beauty. It's a vanity thing. But what do we know about skin? Everything that happens on the inside of our body is going to come out on our skin. So we have to think of it as healthcare. But the beauty industry has just absolutely kind of destroyed that image of what skin is, and we're so obsessed with how we look. So we have to remember that the skin is our largest organ. It's an organ, it's healthcare, but just as confusing as it is for consumers to figure out how to take care of their skin, it's equally as confusing for us practitioners, because we're marketed to just as much as you guys are. So it's really difficult to find, the right person with the right tools. And it's not necessarily through the fault of the practitioner, because again, we're marketed to just as much as consumers. So we're being sold the next great thing. And it's like, ooh, I like this person. I like what they're saying. I'm going to use this, but why am I not getting the result with my clients that they're promising me? So it's a very, very interesting landscape out there.
Let's go back. I'm curious as to know what led you to become a holistic minded, esthetician, a holistic minded, viewpoint of beauty care. And you have so many licenses and certifications. Listeners can go to saltoftheearthskin.com/about, and we won't list off everything, but there's so many things that you have learned, and you continue. I know you continue to learn and add to your repertoire, add to your tool belt. But it's interesting that out of everything you've learned, it's been your own research that has led to shaping what you do with your clients. I just happen to know a little bit about from what we've talked about, but take us back. What happened that made you want to focus on holistic skincare instead of the conventional skincare approach?
Yeah, so how I started this journey as a whole was an accident, because like most young people, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I just, jumped into the beauty industry. You put makeup on every day. Can I make a career out of that? And through everything that I've done, which, you listed all the, where listeners can find what I've done and what I've learned, skin was always at the forefront. And I have a very curious mind. My dad raised me like that. We weren't allowed to be bored on road trips, driving through Montana or the Midwest and there's nothing there. I'm bored meant, hey, we're going to learn about cloud formations. We're going to learn about prairie grasses. So I have a very curious mind. I became really interested in holistic health when I moved to the UK. We get curious. I have this curious mind. Why am I sick? Why is my skin doing this? What am I doing that's not working, and why isn't it working? So my brain is always thinking of this why. And luckily for me, I was in a place that had that mindset. It's very difficult here to do in the US, but it's really easy to do over in the UK and in the EU, because that's kind of their ethos. That's where the beginning of, herbal apothecaries and everything happened. So I kind of went on that journey of discovery, and it just made me want to learn more about the skin.
It's kind of funny to think about, the US is sort of where that petroleum-based, drug-based medicine really took off. I don't know if it's exactly where it began, maybe, but I know that it is where it actually like exploded. And that's kind of what we're known for, right? Is drug-based medicine and that medical approach. And we've been brainwashed for the last 100 years to believe that is the only legitimate form of medicine, and that's how the AMA wants it. And there's actually proof to this. Like, I'm not just saying this because it's an opinion. There's proof to years and years and years of misconduct by the AMA, where they went on PR campaigns to bash every other type of medicine, and they did it for 100 years. So if everyone takes in the media, first it was, written media, everyone read the newspaper, and then it was anytime you go to your doctor, the AMA told the doctors what to tell you. And then it was the radio, and then it was television. So for generations, we've just listened to and taken in what the AMA wanted us to, and that was to protect the interests of pharmaceutical-based medical approach. And they were threatened by natural medicine. So you got to get, it's just wild, right? And then when you living in this, the milieu, constantly being bombarded by this, like you said, the ethos of drug-based medicine, and then you go over to the UK where it's like, oh, wait a second, it's actually acceptable to start thinking about what herbs I could take and how, like, the way I'm eating, and that they just allow it more in their culture. It's interesting.
Yes. Well, and this is what I tell people, because a question that's on everybody's mind is, okay, if these practices and these ingredients and, these treatments and modalities are so harmful, why do all skin professionals do it? I'm a licensed aesthetics instructor. I can never say my profession name. It's like a tongue twister. Most people can say like anesthetist, but they can't say esthetician. And really, I'm a corneotherapist as well, and I'll get into that in a moment. But it's what we're taught in schools. It's what we're taught about our profession. So I'm dual licensed in Washington State and in Idaho, and I've taught aesthetics, and I really love teaching those basics, anatomies, the cells, just how the skin function on its own, a little bit of cosmetic chemistry. That's my jam. That's what I love doing. But each state has their specific requirements on what they require to get your license to practice, even just to put, cleansers and creams on somebody's face. There's always a level of safety and sanitation. So we're taught basics that have been taught for forever, since the beginning of licensing. I think it was in the 70s, I want to say, 60s or 70s. It was called a beautician. And you could do whatever you wanted to do in that realm. But we're taught a very specific way because the state is concerned about safety and sanitation, and it's not necessarily the correct way of caring for the skin. And if you think of, okay, I have to learn about safety and sanitation, to clean my space, to use a modality, to use products, doesn't that mean that might be harmful? If I have to learn if something's safe or not, could that possibly be harmful? So it's kind of a bummer in a way, because you spend thousands of dollars to go to school to learn these things just so you can spend a few $100s more to take your state boards and get your licensing. And if you really want to help people with their skin in a true way and really understand it, you have to spend thousands of dollars more to get the proper education, but it's very difficult to find. So it's very frustrating. I would love to change that process one day, but I can only do so much for now. All I can do is get the information out there in every way.
So do you currently do that? Do you currently teach the proper way, or the way that you've found to be the healthiest way?
I teach to my clients. I do have professionals reach out to me, and I've actually published a list of resources for professionals on my blog, on my website, so they have more of an idea of where they need to go to learn the proper information. I'm on substitute lists for school, so I do love teaching, and if they need a substitute, I am happy to do that. But I also am an educator for my skincare line and own my own skin clinic and run that. So, it's if I can.
Okay. I want some clarification because I'm not in this world. A lot of the listeners are not in this world. So we're kind of guessing what you meant by what each state has you like teaches you to do. You discovered is unsafe. Can you be more specific?
Yes, absolutely. So every state governs what they have this list. They govern the list of what you need to learn to hold a specific license. That's in, healthcare, beauty, anything. So at most states, it's the basics, safety and sanitation, because we clean with hospital grade disinfectant, learn how to use machines properly, learn how to wax correctly, how to apply products on a person's face in a safe manner. All states have that kind of basic requirement, but every single state has either extras or an absence of that information that they don't require to be taught, and they're all at different hours that we have to learn. So each state determines how many hours you have to go to school to learn all the requirements that they have deemed that you have to hold that license, if that makes sense.
But you'd mentioned something about what they teach is not necessarily the healthiest thing. Can you be more specific about that?
Most modalities that are taught in schools are to remove the skin. So we have
like exfoliate.
Exactly. Yes, exfoliate to some degree, whether that's with a product or that's with, a dermaplaning blade or microdermabrasion machine or chemical peels. And I have to tell you, that's the most horrible, horrible thing you can do for your skin. But again, when we're thinking of the realm the state is thinking about safety and sanitation, it makes sense that they require you to learn that, but it's not healthy for the skin.
My mom used to send me to a esthetician, and this is in the late 90s. I was in high school. I actually didn't have bad skin. Like, I was like, so
most people
grateful.
don't.
Yeah. Well, no, but like, teenager, right? I was really grateful that we ate enough healthy food at home. I mean, I was like, that was my rebellion phase. So I was eating junk when I was at school, but at home we ate super healthy. But I was really grateful I didn't have like outbreaks. And my mom was super into this microdermabrasion where they would like basically shave our face with like this razor, this not like a man's razor, it's like a different kind. And then they'd apply this acid that it made my face look like saran wrap afterwards. Like my face was like wet and had no texture. I was a teenager, but my mom would send me there like once a month because she did it and she thought it was super cool. And I remember looking at the bill and seeing that it was like 120 or something. And at the time, I mean, that's a lot of money for the 90s.
Yeah.
But I felt so guilty that my mom was paying for that when I didn't really need it, that I stopped going. I was just like, but I remember being like, this is weird. Like it tingled, it burned, it felt really weird to have someone shaving my like that kind of fuzz, that peach fuzz off my face, like the whole thing. And I didn't really see a benefit. I didn't have bad skin to begin with. I was a teenager with no problems. And then I just ended up looking like I had wet saran wrap on my face for a few days.
Yeah, and that's your intuition. So many people have that intuition and they ignore it because they say, this is the expert. They know what they're doing.
Yes.
But then why is my face burning and stinging, and why do I not feel good about this? That's your intuition saying this is not a good thing for the skin. So many people ignore that. And in the 90s, that's when we were peel crazy, laser crazy. We wanted just the smooth skin. And now that trend has come back. So you say that kind of wet saran wrap look, that trend has come back and we call it glass skin.
Ugh.
Yeah, we don't want glass skin. Skin is supposed to have texture. Some people do have visible pores. Pore size is genetic. It's supposed to have a normal looking skin texture. We're not supposed to have that, baby smooth, super glowy, perfect skin. Social media has ruined that for us. We think that is normal.
Did you ever watch the show Emily in Paris on Netflix?
I didn't, but
it's super funny. So just go watch it when you need to binge on something and just chill. But this latest season, they actually have this featured where they're doing like this product demonstration in a really ritzy mall in Paris, and it turns out that it's just repurposed like KY jelly, and they're
Oh
they're
my
walking around.
gosh.
They're like, you can get glass skin. Look how beautiful you are. And they're all walking around like their face is super wet. And then they like look it up, and it turns out the product used to be like a personal lubricant, and then it failed as a personal lubricant. Like the marketing failed, so then they just turned it into glass skin moisturizer. And
Oh
I
my
thought
goodness.
that was hilarious. But like there's no really it's not really healthy to apply a bunch of petroleum products anyway. Tell me, what's the downside to doing this kind of glass skin procedure where people are doing peels and the shaving of the peach fuzz and then the peels, and what's the downside? Is it damaging our skin over time? Are we absorbing these chemicals? Is it having a negative effect on other systems of the body?
All of the above. The funny thing is that people go in to get these treatments and procedures done because they want to chase that eternal youth. They want to have that young looking skin. But what's actually happening is you're aging your skin faster. And to understand what that means is to understand the skin cell life cycle. This is something that I teach my clients, because when you can understand how skin is actually made, we can understand what might not be good and what might be harmful to our skin over time. So when we think of the skin, I want you to think of it like it's a house. So the roof tiles are going to be the surface of the skin. The bricks of the house are going to be our skin cells. The mortar between the bricks is going to be the lipids between the skin cells. The flooring is the deeper layer of the cells. The plumbing and the electricity of the house is going to be your blood vessels, your lymphatic system. And then the foundation, how it's built, is going to be dependent on nutrition and fluid intake. So when we're thinking of how skin is made, number one, what happens in this kind of bottom layer of your epidermis, and I'll go through some more layers of the skin too, but your epidermis is that top part of your skin, and it has 5 layers within itself. In that bottom layer of the epidermis, there's a mother stem cell that produces a baby daughter cell, which is called a keratinocyte, which is your skin cell. As the cell matures and migrates to the surface, it kind of goes through life stages like we do as humans. It starts out as a baby, there's a toddler phase, preteen, teen, and then it's adult, and then, it passes away just like we do. As the cell migrates to the top of the skin, it starts to dry out and flatten and squeeze out this beautiful lipids from our cell membrane, which are ceramides that are formed to create our acid mantle or our skin microbiome. And then in a healthy skin, that mature cell will naturally fall off and desquamate. That's what we call exfoliation, basically, desquamation. This whole process takes about 28 to 45 days, depending on the health of the skin cells and the age of the person. The cellular life cycle is about 14 to 28 plus days. And then once it reaches that top layer called the stratum corneum, that's when it starts to desquamate. It takes about 5 to 7 days to naturally fall off. So by removing the skin over and over and over unnecessarily, it's like we're pushing our 12-year-old out into the world and saying, hey, I need you to go away. You're bothering me. You go out in the world and learn how to be an adult. But this kid isn't ready yet. So that's what's happening with our skin cells, is we're pushing it out of the house way too early. And when we keep doing that, the whole skin cell turnover, that life cycle, we just form poorer cells, and that's what leads to skin problems. But it's this vicious cycle that we get stuck in, because if we don't do these procedures, then my skin looks bad, or I have pigmentation, or I get acne, or my peach fuzz comes back, so I have to do it. But you're stuck in this hamster wheel that's actually aging you faster. But that's what we're taught in school and to get our license, unfortunately.
So you said the entire thing takes between 28 and 45 days from
roughly.
Okay, so from the birth of the baby cell at the, like you said, like the bottom layers, like stem cell kind of layer.
Yes.
To sloughing off naturally.
Yes.
Is 28 to 45 days. So if someone has major skin issues and they're doing all these procedures and they want a total reboot, do you tell them like, hey, give me 45 days minimum? Like, what do you tell them?
Everybody's timeline is going to be different. So there's never a black and white answer with this. It all depends on, what's the age of the person, how long have they been doing this, treatment or using these particular ingredients. And then it's going to take a while. Usually I tell people, I see most people my age, I'm 39, so around that, perimenopause, menopause age, and we've done all the things to our skin. It can take up to a year to get your skin to learn how to function again on its own, because it's kind of in phases.
Wow.
So it's basically, trust me, trust the process. Ask me questions. I will teach you and give you information along the way. And if you need scientific studies, I'll send them to you, because I want you to understand this process as much as I understand it, because it's your skin, you're living with it.
It's like the exact same process of health coaching. Trust me.
Exactly.
Trust the process.
Exactly. And it's
do what
difficult.
I say.
It's difficult for some people because we're always looking for that quick fix. We want it to be easy. And I'm preaching to the choir. I'm my own problem too. But it takes a lot of work to do the healthy thing. But once you get through those steps and you go through that hard work and it becomes easy and you see the results, you're like, wow, why didn't I do this in the first place? But it's really hard to find skincare practitioners that practice that way.
I found that when I took care, quote unquote, took care of my skin more, and I always lean towards the healthiest choices I can find, the more organic, less chemicals, like not, cruelty free, vegan, no chemicals, like just those kind of skincare products. But still, back when I had had more routine around my own skincare, I just found that my skin would be super dry. Like I'd, cleanse in the shower and, exfoliate. And then you get out of the shower and my skin feels like it's in the desert. Like it'd feel uncomfortably tight and dry. And then I'm like, why did I just take off all my natural oils to then replace them with not synthetic, but like not of my body, right? Like an exogenous oil to put on, or cream to put on my skin, when I just took off my body made it. My body made sebum for a reason, made my own moisturizing layer, and I just stripped it in the shower. And so I stopped doing all that. I stopped doing the skincare routine, and a few times a week I'll put on a very light moisturizer, but other than that I don't use a cleanser on my face. I just wash my face with water. And I get compliments that I look much younger than I am. And it's kind of just, I felt like it's almost like a very lazy approach to skincare. I'm like, I just look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, looks good to me, feels good to me. Let's just keep going. And the less I do, the better my skin and the healthier my skin looks. Have you found that?
Absolutely. So you say it's the lazy approach because we've been taught that we have to do all these things all the time, right? So it's simple. It's like eating. It's very simple. If you eat whole foods, it's easy. It doesn't have to be complicated, but we've made it a complicated thing. So just hearing that from you, it sounds like, I don't know if you know your skin type or you've been told your skin type, which most people have been told the wrong skin type because we actually learned the wrong skin types in school. Surprise, surprise. Wow. And it sounds like you weren't using ingredients that were for your particular skin. And that's right. A very common thing. And it's always interesting for me to hear people talk about their story and how they feel about their skin and what they use, because we adhere that so much to like a product, like a cleanser, or I did this and I used this, but really we need to be thinking about ingredients. And there's so much misinformation in the marketing. We focus so much on labels, right? Cruelty-free, vegan, organic, synthetic, lab created, all those terms that are very misused. The most important thing that I tell people is more important than the origin of the ingredient is it physiological? So is the body going to recognize it? Does the skin recognize it? Will it use it? Because we can put whatever on our skin and the body is going to use it how it sees fit or not. So we have to think in terms of ingredients.
Okay.
And
so I'm so sorry to interrupt, but this this really is, I think, how most people think. And so I just want clarification. Mm-hmm. We believe the skin, I mean, to some extent, we feel like as women, our face is impenetrable, right? And we're just placing it. Maybe we're placing a moisturizer on top, and maybe it's sort of like plumps up the very like top layer of skin. But I don't think we think in terms of, does the skin eat what we put on, or absorb, and when I say eat, I mean like absorb and use at like raw building blocks. Use the things we put on our face like nutrients. Is that how skin works? Like if you put on certain ingredients on your face, the skin actually absorbs and uses it?
Yes, the skin, that's how skin work. It absorbs what we put on it. But what is the skin made of? That's what people don't think about, especially skin practitioners. We're so focused on what treatment can I do? What does this label say? And what is this person's skin doing? And I'm just going to match things. But we don't think of what makes up the skin, what's happening in our skin barrier, and can the body recognize it? And where is this what is this ingredient? Is there other things that are in there that the skin isn't going to recognize? So we have to think of what's the exact recipe of the skin barrier. How can we match those ingredients? So the skin barrier is made of things like triglycerides, squalene. It has 9 different types of ceramides, sterols, phospholipids. And so if our skin is making these particular ingredients, why are we putting all this extra stuff on it? Shouldn't we feed the skin what it already makes so it can function normally? And I wish we could just leave the skin alone. Some people can because of genetics. Genetics definitely does come into play with skin health. But our modern day environment, we're surrounded by so much, we're exposed to so much. Even if you live in, really clean mountainous area, there's not a lot of people around. Pollutants and particulates in the air circle around the globe. So to some extent, because of how far we've progressed as a society, we're being exposed to something. So we've got to do a little bit something to the skin, but it doesn't have to be this super complicated thing. And we're meeting the skin where it's at in that moment. So what you're using now, once we heal that process, may not be what you use forever. Because especially as women, we're going through all of these hormonal changes, the skin's going to change. And so we have to say, what is it doing right now? What does it need?
It's interesting to think that pollution, because a lot of us don't see pollution. Like, we are so privileged to live in a place like, you and I live in a part of the United States where we call this the Pacific Northwest. It has some of the cleanest air in the world, and
Yes.
we're privileged. Yet we are still exposed to pollution. And this, I like to talk about pollution because a lot of people have been manipulated by politics to actually stop talking about pollution or even focusing on pollution and talk about climate change. Climate change is not the focus we should be looking at, because climate change doesn't tell you about the immediate effects it's having on your body. I think it's more motivating. Also, climate change is there's so much political BS when it comes to climate change. I hate that subject because it divides us and does not have us take action. And really, we need something that's bipartisan to have both people go, let's not argue about some polar caps melting maybe 15 years from now. Or 50 or 100 years. Let's talk about today. What is affecting your health today? Because we can all agree that pollution is a problem. Back in the 80s, they called it acid rain. They just they keep coming up with different names for it. But do not let yourself be swayed by politics at all. Think about pollution. Microplastics, it's ridiculous. Microplastics are so damaging that they're actually trending. They're showing that sperm count is plummeting, that fertility is plummeting, and they're attributing it to the endocrine disruptors that are in everyday plastics, plastic bottles, and all the plastic in the ocean. And this is pollution. This is what I say about pollution, right? So it's in our food. And then, of course, we have 80,000 new man-made chemicals in the last 40 years. Your mom, your grandma did not live with these. Your great grandma, you are the generation that is being exposed to new chemicals that your body does not know how to process. You haven't had a chance to, and when I say evolve, I mean, like, even if you are a creationist within the confines of the creation model, our body evolves over generations to adapt to a new exposure. So whether we can see that there's certain Europeans that can digest milk better than the average person. There's like 10% of the world is from like this part of Europe that, been drinking milk for well over 5,000 years. And they just adapted, their body, their microbiome adapted to be able to take in cow's milk, and they don't have any adverse effects. There's over 50% of the population that is lactose intolerant and has immune problem, digestion problems from taking in cow's milk, right? So this concept that we evolve over time based on our environment, based on our diet. And when I say over time, I mean a matter of generations. But you and I and every listener has not had a chance. Our liver hasn't adapted. And we also haven't adapted our diet to be able to increase the antioxidants and give our body what it needs to even have a fighting chance. So we're accumulating toxins from our air, from our food, from our water. It's accumulating in our soil. It's accumulating in our waterways. And it's accumulating in our clothing. We absorb dyes from our synthetic dyes and microplastics and, obesogens from our clothing, from the receipts we touch, from, it just goes on and on and on. And processed food, don't get me started.
I know. That actually has a huge effect on skin health. Nutrition is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
But you say dyes and fragrances and things like that. That's the number one sensitizer for skin. And we put it in skincare. And it's one of the worst things. Even essential oils aren't that great for the skin too, because they're so concentrated, and you may not feel the effects or see the effects right now, but over time, you're slowly causing and building this irritation within your skin. And then, if you don't know your genetic background, if you have histamine response in your family, if you have any sort of gene deficiencies, you're just contributing to problems later down the line, which is why we have so many incidences of dermatitis-like conditions as well. So, and I love essential oils. Essential oils are especially great for aromatherapy. They're so great for aromatherapy, but we really don't think about what we put in products, and then we put it on our skin, and we don't think long-term either. So we're exposed to all these things that we have to think about now, but then with what we put on our skin, we have to be thinking long-term with that as well.
So what you're saying is we need, because of our environment, because we're exposed to all these chemicals, like, we don't see them. And that's the problem, is we don't, unless you like are in LA and it's a bad smog day, and which is crazy. Like even San Diego, like flying into San Diego this summer, it was like you flew and you could see the layer of thick smog. Yes. And and I'm sure other cities too have it, but it's like, if you don't visually see it, you don't think about pollution. But pollution, we don't see it. We don't see the everyday pollution. And they say that indoor air quality, once we close our windows for the winter, our indoor air quality is 10 times worse than that of being outdoors in a city with cars going by. That everything off gases, and there's chemicals in our air. I did an interview a long time ago. It was somewhere in the 50s. I mean, this is you probably heard it, but it was a really cool interview with a woman who takes a machine, puts it in your living room, and it filters the air, and then she sends it to a lab, and it gives her a readout of every single man-made chemical that is just floating around in your space, in your home.
Oh, yes.
And she can tell you which brand of Mr. Clean is sitting underneath your sink. You didn't even use it while she was running the machine. It was just sitting underneath the sink in a bottle. It off gases, and you're inhaling it. Everything under your sink that's in a plastic bottle, you are inhaling, and your liver is processing every single day. And not to mention what our carpets off gas for 25 years, and our mattresses, and if you didn't buy an organic mattress, and your couch and everything. So because of all this, we actually need to have a skincare routine, because our skin is having to handle the stressor of pollution. But we need to know what our skin type is, and we need to know what kind of things to put on our face that our body would actually want to have on our face to create healthier skin. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And then thinking of, what is the state of my health? What is this thing? Where is it happening and why is it happening to? And what can I do to help that process? So I look at the skin in a 3D way. Like I'm looking at your skin all the way down to the cells. I'm not just, let's say you come in and you have acne and it's caused, by you living in a big city and you're surrounded by pollution, or even in our area where we have wildfires all the time. Those particulates that are in the air from wildfires, especially sit within the skin as well. I see so much acne in the summer when we have these wildfires because of all the particulates in the air. But I'm not looking at, okay, you have acne, let's treat it like acne. Number one, why is this even happening? I've got to go through this whole history. We've got to dig deep, figure out what's the issue, why this is happening, where is it happening, and what can we do to help this? What kind of ingredients do you need for this? So there's some degree that you have to take care of your skin in our modern day environment, and especially depending on where you live. But, it doesn't have to be as complicated as we're making it. But your professional that you go to has to understand what they're doing.
I wanted the answer to be easier.
I know. I do too. Trust me. Even though I love researching it, I want it to be easy too, but there's never a black and white answer.
I just wanted you to tell us to wash our face with, apple cider vinegar and then
don't do that. Oh my gosh. Never put apple cider vinegar on your skin ever. You're corroding your skin.
Okay. Rub my skin with lemons.
No, don't do that either.
No,
it's an acid.
Oh my.
And that's the thing. What you just said is a prime example of our obsession about, okay, I'm going to use this whole food to put on my skin.
Right.
But we have to think of the reaction that particular food is having. So take a lemon. That's a very common thing that actually I see dermatologists talk about on Instagram. And I'm like, no, I've got to jump in the comments and tell people not to do this. And why? Because we have to think lemons are acidic. And when you think of acidic, you think of chemical peels. You're essentially peeling your skin. And I actually, I knew this in my head, but I did this on accident with my husband when I first started out. I thought, I'm going to create my own, mask back bar. I'm going to have herbal powders. I'm going to do all this. And I combined, I think it was grapefruit powder, lemon powder, probably orange in there, all the citrus fruits. And I thought this will be a nice, enzymatic exfoliation for my husband. His skin literally peeled. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense because it's acidic. It's an acid. And that's a base of a lot of chemical peels too, is it's acids. And it's removing his skin, and he didn't need his skin removed. And I'm like, whoopsies, gosh. Thank goodness it was you and not a client.
Wow.
So we don't think of these things. So you have to think of the different chemical constituents of, herbal ingredients too. And the fact that, plants, they come with their own defense mechanisms as well to protect themselves from being eaten by predators. It's how they've survived this long.
Yeah.
So how is that going to react within the skin? Is there just a particular constituent that's in that plant or that herbal ingredient that matches the skin? Or do I need the whole thing?
Thank you to husbands for being our guinea pigs. My husband is also my guinea pig for many, many things holistic. But you know what? Through the years, he has been more open-minded. And now he kind of gets excited when I introduce him to new things, unless it involves vegetables. And I know that's funny because he's vegan. He chooses to be vegan, but he always complains when I put a lot of vegetables on his rice and beans or potatoes. I'm like, no. You can't be the vegan that doesn't like vegetables.
It doesn't make sense. That's my husband too. Why do I need this other thing? And then the next day, if he doesn't do it, it's, well, what can I do for this? I'm like, oh my goodness. I tried to give you the thing, but you didn't want another thing. So you just tell me when you want a thing and I'll help you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But
and he looks amazing. He looks 5 years younger than his peers. He constantly will show me pictures of men like his age, and he'll be like, how old does this guy look? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe late 40s, early 50s. My husband's 41, and he's like, no, he's my age. And I'm like, you don't look like that. He's like, I know, I look younger. I have healthy skin, so thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, so what do you have your husband do for his skin?
Basics. He cleanses. I've made him a customized cleanser. He uses his toner for his skin type, and he uses his moisturizer. That's it. Men are very lucky because they have that 24-hour hormonal cycle, so they don't go through all the changes that we do. Women can have a little bit more tricky skin, and we tend to experiment a lot, which can damage the skin. And men just kind of are like, whatever. So it's easy. It can be easier to take care of male skin, but he actually will experiment on his own, which is super fun. He actually, and he's gonna kill me for telling this story, but I tell it to everybody. So he's a blue collar worker. He's a tradesman. He wears his work boots. It destroys his feet. I mean, it looks like he has athlete's foot, but he doesn't have athlete's foot. It's just so moist in his boots that his skin, it literally falls apart. He listens to what I say about, ingredients and stuff, and kind of knows the products that have, the ingredient in it. And he grabbed a couple things and he just started putting them on his feet. And he came to me 2 weeks later and he said, "Look at my feet." And I was like, wow, they look like they're normal. They're not falling apart like they normally do. And he's like, "Well, I use this, and my feet are better." And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. When you're using the right things and you're taking care of your skin with the right ingredients, what can happen and so quickly. And he always says, "Do you want me to let my feet get bad again so we can take pictures?" I'm like, yes, but also, no, I don't, because I don't want you to make your skin bad again.
We've talked a lot about what you can put on your skin. Well, we haven't actually talked about we talked about what you shouldn't put on your skin. We haven't talked a lot about what you should put on your skin, because we have this dilemma, which is we don't know, like you said, your skin type and your age, what your needs are, where your health's at, what your skin challenges are, and all these things need to come up for us to really know what to put on the skin. But can you give us some? Again, I know it can't be a blanket for everyone, but like, what's like the safest ingredients? You're like, okay, without knowing your skin type, without knowing your age or any of your skin, challenges, what's the safest, healthiest thing people could put on their skin? Visit learntruehealth.com/coach to get the new sample class for free from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It'll come with 5 mobile-friendly interactive health videos as part of the masterclass introduction to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Lectures will be from Dr. Will Cole. Hey, I had him on the show. That was about his book about fiber, and it is actually super interesting. Naturopathic physician. That helps support health through supporting gut health, which once you start diving into natural medicine, it all starts in the gut. And Maya Feller, Dr. Andrew Weil, and more. You're going to learn about somatic breathwork, holistic nourishment, a functional medicine approach. And you will also get to experience the Institute for Integrative Nutrition health history intake form and reflect with personal journal prompts and their career assessment tool as well. You'll be able to see the IIN coaching method in action through a 30-minute video call where you will actually get to see and experience what it's like to be a health coach and also what it's like to be the client of an integrative health coach. So it's a lot of fun. It's interactive. Even if you're not interested necessarily in being a health coach, but you're looking for health answers, it's a wonderful program. And it's free to sign up for the sample class. So just go do it and check it out and see what you learn. It's great. IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, I graduated from there and I just love their programs. And when you use coupon code LTH, as in Learn True Health, or mention my name and say, Ashley James sent me from Learn True Health podcast, coupon code LTH, you will get an amazing discount. They, in fact, will give you the deepest discount, deeper than all their sales that they do. And right now they're doing an amazing special for us. The September class is about to start. So if you're interested, check it out. You can call them and chat with them. In fact, when you talk to them on the phone, you're talking to a graduate of their program. So they'll be able to answer questions. And if you don't want to talk to someone and you want to sign up, you can just go to their website and you can sign up there. Make sure you use the coupon code LTH so you get that huge discount. Remember, the website to go check it out is learntruehealth.com/coach. That's learntruehealth.com/coach.
The safest healthy ingredients that you can put on your skin are the ones that your skin already makes. So those are going to be your triglycerides, your squalene, ceramides, cholesterol, things like glycerin. And I can get you a list because it's so many things that nobody's going to remember this. I just know it because it's literally in my head. So I can get you a list that you can share with your listeners too.
Yeah, I mean, you can also say it because this is transcribed.
Oh,
but
that's true.
If you want to talk about some of your favorites, like I know there's this fad that keeps coming back, like let's put tallow on our skin.
Oh my, let's go
right?
there, Ashley.
Let's
go there.
Let's take rendered duck fat. I don't know. I mean, I would be like loving the smell of my skin all day, but like people will take tallow, like, which is rendered beef fat, right?
Yeah.
And that's typically like the droppings of like a roast, right? They'll take the, after they've cooked the roast and all the fat that accumulates, and they will take those and render it and then rub it on their skin. Or like butter. Like let's put ghee on our skin. Let's put butter on our skin. So is it okay to take animal fat? You just talked about cholesterol and triglycerides, and like those are the natural things the body makes. So is it a good idea to take beef fat and smear it on our face?
No, it's a terrible idea.
Why?
But it's very popular. So I listed a long list of ingredients, right? So we're just putting a singular ingredient on there. So our skin is making up these very specific ingredients, and we're only giving it one of those. So what happens when we just put one ingredient of the whole recipe? It tips the scale and can cause issues. Some people can see improvement if they have things like eczema, psoriasis, and things like that, because there's a deficiency in those skin conditions. And by putting something that's high in omega-6 fatty acids on there, will correct that. But then if you keep doing that and keep giving your skin an abundance of that one ingredient, you're going to tip the scales the other way, and that issue is either going to get worse or we're going to have another issue. So it's all about, what makes up the skin barrier. It needs all of those ingredients together, not just one thing. That would be like, I know broccoli is good for me. I'm just going to eat broccoli forever. Well, we need a lot more, variety of nutrients so our body can function. And that's going to cause some different issues in the body. It's the same with skin.
So we talked a lot about putting stuff on skin, right? Mm-hmm. And that's actually pretty interesting that the skin can actually take the ingredients, and we want it to be in balance with what the skin already makes to protect the skin, to put it on the skin. But we haven't gone deeper than the skin. So your training and your certification is, skin deep, but your research is far from it. Let's talk about diet.
Yes, diet and nutrition, what you put in your body, is so important for skin. But so topical ingredients, I always say that's the third thing you should think about. That's the last thing. If you really want to heal your skin, number one, you have to take care of your stress. Because you can be eating all the right things and you could be using all the right products. You could be drinking all the water in the world. But if you're stressed, it's going to show up on your skin. Nutrition's actually second. So I'll tell my clients, I mean, they go hand in hand, but really get your stress under control. Because you can do all those things. But if you're stressed, your condition, acne is a big one that I see, which leads to skin picking and other issues, all because we're so obsessed with looking at our skin all the time and any little blemish and everything. So I've actually turned people away when they're like, I can't afford to do all of this at once. First, go to therapy and work on how you're eating. And then once you get that under control, then you come see me and we'll work on the topical aspect. But nutrition, so important. It's half the battle, is what you put in your body.
So give me the list of like, what's the worst kind of stuff you can eat for skin health, and what's the best?
Best, whole foods, plant-based. Even if you do eat meat, which I know some people do, because right now we're kind of obsessed with this, quote, ancestral way of eating, high fat, high meat, high dairy, that actually causes inflammation in the skin. Some people, because again, they have a good genetic background and they're not really affected by that on the skin. Of course, we know what's going on internally. There's internal inflammation happening. But if you especially have things like rosacea, acne, high amounts of dairy and animal products and gluten as well, that is going to activate something called IGF-1, insulin growth-like factor 1, that triggers the inflammation cascade. And so that presents itself differently in different people, whether that's, the degree of redness that they see in their skin, which is inflammation, or acne, or if they genetically do have rosacea, what the degree of that is going to happen. And that's a big hurdle for some of my clients that see me, because, they come in for skin, they want products and they want, treatments, but now you're telling me that I have to eat differently. I don't think I can do that. So that's a big hurdle. So getting that inflammation. Food. Yes, fried food, processed food.
Fried food is probably this is, based on my from a integrative health coach standpoint, not an esthetician standpoint. So I'd love your feedback, but I think fried food would be the number one if you had to rate it. I think fried food would, because what you're consuming, typically you're going to be consuming, most fried food is gluten, right? Mm-hmm. And it's also, by the way, probably not organic, non-GMO. So you've got high chemicals from GMO crops like glyphosate, right, which is Roundup, and then the process of frying, which nowadays people don't fry in animal fats anymore, which although frying anything isn't healthy, but frying in oil and seed oils is even unhealthier, right? And it causes acrylamides and heterocyclic amines, these cancer-causing compounds that are free radical bullets being shot through your skin, damaging your DNA, damaging your cells, and your body has to run around try to repair it. Why would we do that to our skin? But even just if you can smell fries, you're actually being exposed to it, and your skin is being exposed to it. Just go to McDonald's, hang out at McDonald's, and look at the skin of the fry cook, right? Just go around and look at the skin of people who have to stand by the fryer, and it's not pretty. And plus they probably also eat that way. But yeah, fried food decreases our lifespan by something like 10 years. This was a great book and a great interview. Dr. Joel Fuhrman wrote the book Fast Food Genocide. Amazing read. But this is echoed in many other doctors I've interviewed, and my mentor, Dr. Joel Wallach, have had him on the show twice. They talk about the dangers of fried food. And so if that's the one thing that you immediately cut out is fried food and seed oils, because of the, pro-inflammatory nature and the cell degradation that occurs from that food. Like, why are we eating food that destroys the health of the cell immediately upon contact?
Yes, and that's happening internally. Yeah. And so we always think of, all those things that you said, mitochondrial health, DNA damage, cell health. We're thinking about that internally, but we forget we have skin cells. So the same thing that's happening on the inside is happening to our skin cells as well.
We also have skin on the inside of our body. And that's something I always wonder, because they say in holistic medicine that the skin we see, smiling face, the skin we see on your face is a representation of your internal health. It's a mirror. Your skin is a mirror to what's going on the inside, but there's epithelial tissue on the inside of the body. Every single artery on the inside of the artery is a type of skin, right? And there's skin within us. And I just wonder if you have that eczema, that psoriasis, that rosacea, that acne, that inflammation showing on the outside, is it also occurring on the inside?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely related to nutrition, but a lot of those have to do with hormones and genetics as well. So acne definitely can be genetic, and it's controlled by hormones as well. Things like rosacea and eczema and other dermatitis conditions, yes, they can be caused by nutrition, absolutely, and topical products, but then there's also a gene deficiency that you're working with too. So that means everything that you put in the inside of your body is even more important than somebody who just kind of has balanced skin and doesn't have any issues.
My husband, and I've told this on the show before, and he gives me permission to talk about his health stuff. He had such bad adult acne from when he was a teenager that all the way up until when I met him, that he had to wear T-shirts to go swimming. He didn't really like to be, like, he would never be topless out there. And he's a really big guy. Like, he's 6'7", and he's just a really tall guy. So he stands out already, and they didn't want to draw any more attention to himself with like, oh, look at that guy's back. It looks like a pizza. Like, it was really bad. It was deep. It didn't look like acne. It looked like deep, like fissures, like deep psoriasis, like deep, what do we call it? When it's like, when the acne is really deep.
Oh, that's like cystic acne.
Cystic, thank you. It was cystic acne. And I mean, not to get graphic, but it would explode. And even the shirt, as he wore the shirt, there'd be stains on it. Like, it was, I just want to paint the picture of how bad it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So not knowing that diet, because like he grew up just going to an MD once a year, maybe, right? Just like not knowing that diet played a role in anything. He had really no observation about what he ate and attributed it to his health. He says he was a typical guy, like typical man. You know, he was just a typical guy doing what he does, typical American, not thinking that what you put in your mouth affects your health. And until he met me. Haha. And I got him to quit. Like, we together cleaned up our diet, and I got him to quit dairy and processed food and he wasn't. Yeah, I got him to quit sugar. He was highly addicted to ice cream.
Oh, yeah. So he's getting the double whammy with the dairy and the sugar. So he was getting the
dairy and the sugar, right? So he pretty much gave up dairy and sugar at the same time. And within 3 days of 0 dairy, 0 sugar. But the thing is, he didn't eat sugar every day. It was like once a week he would buy a thing of ice cream and eat it, like over, like, it was pretty much on the weekends he'd eat ice cream, but it was like Monday through Friday he wasn't really doing sugar. It was more a ton of dairy in his coffee and cheese. It was cheese and stuff in his coffee. That was it. But every day he was doing dairy, and then every once a week he was doing sugar. And within 3 days of cutting out the dairy and not going to sugar, 100% of his cystic acne went away. 100%.
Wow.
And it was like weird how fast it went away. And then, for fun, he had a slice of pizza, and it came back. And then he stopped eating that again, and it went away. And so once in a while he'd test it. He'd put milk in his coffee, and it'd come back, and he's like, "Oh crap! Okay, no dairy, no dairy." And this was a long time ago. This was many years ago. But to watch something that, you know, people suffer for years, and he did. He suffered for years and years with it, and it created embarrassment. And there's a lot of emotions, and I know we talked about at the beginning that we wanted to get into a little bit of the mental health issue. Not mental health issue, but the mental health of the beauty industry, but the mental health of our outward appearance. He's not a vain person. But he was incredibly self-conscious his entire life, because it started when he was a teenager, and it shaped whether he went to a party or not, whether he went to a function or not, because he didn't want people to see it. And this is a guy who doesn't, you know, like, care about what he looks like, but at the same time he felt very embarrassed and self-conscious. And now we take a woman who has cystic acne, and it's on her face, or it's on her shoulders, or somewhere where people can see it, you know, and we take people who, like, maybe do care about, like, their appearance, and or they work in an industry where it matters what they look like, or they're in the public space and it matters what they look like. And there's a great mental health aspect of this. So when people come to you, how do you help them with that?
I think, you know, creating that safe space to talk about it too. And it's through education too. Because like I said in the beginning, the number one thing is, okay, you're telling me all these things. So why does everybody else do all these, you know, things that aren't helping me? And so getting that education, you know, out to them to help them to understand why, you know, it's not necessarily the fault of the practitioner. It's literally just what we're taught, but holding space for them to talk about it. And I know there's a lot of other great practitioners that don't practice like I do, but they also, hold that space for them to just talk about it and get it out to somebody who understands the skin is a huge thing. But the clients that come to me, they just want to know why. Why have I done all these things? Why is this happening? And to finally get answers is a huge thing for them. I will literally tell people, if you are on, Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media, and you're feeling bad about yourself because of what you're seeing, you need to unfollow that account. I don't care if you know them personally and they're good people to you. If they're talking about something that's affecting your mental health, you need to unfollow it. You need to stop seeing it, walk away from your phone, stop looking at the mirror, go outside, go do something else. Go do something for somebody else. Because when we do for others, we stop obsessing about, our looks. And not that that's a bad thing, but if you can do something for other people, that can kind of help combat that a little bit.
Well, I think obsessing about anything is unhealthy.
Yes.
And there's a difference between caring about your skin health, because that's a part of your overall well-being, caring, and being obsessed with. Being obsessed with is being like in that vicious cycle of beating yourself up, guilt and shame. And as we learned from an interview with Kristen Bowen a few years back, she discovered she'd work with dozens of people in groups. She'd use group coaching sessions, and she'd find out that the people who wouldn't get results from the very results-based, evidence-based health changes they'd make, 10 out of 10 people should have a positive change from what she was suggesting they do. But there'd be some people that did everything right and they wouldn't get results. And she figured out that those people all the time had, and this comes back to your point about stress, those people had high levels of guilt and shame. And until they processed and released the guilt and shame, they actually it was holding them back from even though they were eating the right foods, doing all the right things, they still held on to their disease state because they were living in that obsession, whatever was creating the guilt and shame and guilt and shame, guilt and shame. So, like you said, get rid of the social media that triggers you, that triggers the negative feelings. Don't constantly expose yourself to things that bring up guilt and shame.
Yes, and walk away from the mirror. And that's, our culture has created this. And unfortunately, in the beauty industry and the skincare industry, it's made to be like a fun thing to do all these harmful things. Oh, you have this issue. Well, we can just erase this and we can do this while, removing your skin and making it worse and injecting you with all these toxins, and we can change your face. And I think, most people, they've been led to believe that that's a normal way of caring for your skin because we've made it a fun thing, but it's not. It's super toxic, physically and, emotionally and mentally. And we have to change the conversation around it. It's a big thing. I look at that whole mental health aspect of this industry from a spiritual point of view as a Christian. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to put it on my landing page on my website because it's such a powerful thing. It's from St. Catherine of Siena. And she said, "What is it you want to change? Your hair, your face, your body? Why? For God is in love with all those things, and he might weep when they are gone."
Aww.
When I found that, I just realized that this is such a spiritual problem. And talking about Botox and fillers and that whole realm is a very passionate thing of mine, to kind of give people that informed consent. And, we all want to look our best, right? We all feel some sort of shame if we have that acne, or, we notice that we're getting these wrinkles, and, that's a very alarming thing. I'm not immune to it either. I'll look at the mirror and say, "Ooh, what's that face?" But, talking myself through the education of that. But if you look at this other side of the industry that's saying, come over to this side, we have these quick fixes. Like, let me just get my needle. Let me just get this peel. If you look in somebody's eyes, there's a loss of spark in their eyes because we've been so we're obsessed. We're just obsessed with what we look like, and we're looking at the skin as this instrument of beauty and validation, and we have so much guilt and shame about it, and we're not realizing what the true root of the problem is.
And it's never good enough. You go down that path and it's just never good enough. And you know what? One day I will have laugh lines and I will have earned them.
Yes. Yeah. Amen. Yes. Because if you're not aging, you're dying. Whether that's you're still physically here, but you might be spiritually dead inside.
I can't wait. I can't wait to be like this 90-year-old with like all the crazy white or gray hair, platinum hair, whatever, and the beautiful laugh lines. Like I'm gonna let my passion shine, and I'm excited to be that woman one day. And right now I'm so happy that I do almost nothing to my skin, and my diet really, and I guess I'm managing my stress because my skin looks great. So
you're taking care of yourself in a healthy way.
I am. I focus so much on sleep optimization and nutrition that it comes through. And my skin did used to be oily and dry back in the day, but the more, like I said, the more I use products, it kind of felt like it just got worse. And when I just stopped using products, it kind of just like got better. So I like that minimalistic approach. What is there anything like in the kitchen that like is okay to put on skin, like coconut oil? Is there anything that like people could just reach for that's like, it's not going to be harmful? It might sort of be helpful, but is there anything okay to put on the skin just in general that you can say is like out there in the grocery store or in the kitchen?
I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do when somebody has, because of what I said earlier about, what else is in that ingredient and how is that going to affect the
balanced.
Skin.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I do tell clients to do if they're having like a skin flare up or something, oatmeal baths are amazing. Oatmeal calms the skin. It's it's an amazing ingredient. I've yet to experiment with other things because I know oatmeal can trigger gluten reactions too. So I'm not speaking to people with celiac or anything like that. But if you make an oatmeal bath, or let's say you have an eczema flare up on your skin and you don't have the right product or whatever to put on your skin, you can create a paste of that oatmeal and water to put on that. And in oatmeal, it calms down that flare up.
What about aloe?
Aloe can be good if it's pure aloe, because I forget the name of the particular chemical constituent in the leaf between the gel and the leaf that can irritate the skin, but pure aloe gel can help. Pure aloe gel. Absolutely. Pure aloe gel, especially for sunburns, is excellent.
It's important that you mentioned that there is a membrane between the gel and the skin. And that's why you don't want whole leaf aloe. Like, don't drink whole leaf aloe unless you have constipation, because that irritates the skin of the intestines and it causes diarrhea. So it's a great natural way to rescue yourself if your constipation's gone out of control. But the aloe just in the gel is wonderful for skin, right?
Yes.
And inside and out, right? You can drink it. I have 2 interviews about drinking aloe and the benefits. Actually, when we mention it in a third interview where we talk about the anti-cancer properties of it. So yeah, just get yourself a giant aloe plant and then like tear it off and just squeeze out the gel and go to town. Is that something that you could say that like 100% of people, no matter what kind of skin type, would benefit from aloe? Or is there any...
Except for people. I'm so used to saying the word clients. People with rosacea. Rosacea is a very tricky condition, and the osmotic balance, so the balance of water and salt, is very temperamental. Oh. So if you use too many hydrating ingredients, it can actually cause the rosacea to swell and cause more inflammation and make that condition worse.
That's
and
so
then
interesting.
The same with too many lipids too. So we think of your cream-based skincare products or ingredients. There's this delicate balance with specific skincare condition. But when I reach for things like aloe or chamomile is another great herb for calming down the skin, and aloe, it's more of like a medicinal purpose. So,
Got it.
sunburn, number one, sunburn, or we have some sort of flare up, or the skin is just really inflamed. So I tend to look at it more of like a medicinal way.
Could we make like a chamomile tea bath?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
green tea is excellent in a bath as well. Drinking green tea, having a green tea bath, it's really, really calming and excellent for the skin.
I just learned more about green tea and how it helps our DNA and helps the mitochondria, like how quickly it helps the mitochondria. So I'm now back to drinking my matcha lattes that I make every day. I'm back to drinking those because of how healthy green tea is. Dr. Greger I had him on the show, and he has an amazing library of knowledge for free that he provides, where he pours through scientific studies, and then either he figures out which ones are legitimate, because I can't believe how much BS is out there. Well, as a listener, you probably have seen some BS come out of the studies in the last 4 years that were debunked. But he likes to go through, and he makes these great videos where and blogs where he dives through his information. He just recently posted, I think it was on X, one of his lectures, that would like a little clip from his lecture on the surprising benefits of green tea. And I knew how good green tea was before, but now I'm like hooked, because that's one of the like anti-aging aspects of it, is how protective it is of our DNA, of our mitochondria, of our cells. So if you want to protect your skin, green tea.
Absolutely. Yeah, green tea is excellent to drink. Everybody should be drinking green tea. It's so wonderful for skin health. It helps to actually create the proteins that make skin cells. So skin cells are keratinocytes. Keratin is a protein, and that's what our skin cells are made of. So green tea can help make healthy skin cells.
What other foods or herbs are excellent for making healthy skin?
Oh gosh, just getting a variety of nutrients. So getting your vegetables, cruciferous vegetables are excellent for those who suffer with acne conditions. Getting your fruits, your whole grains, getting enough protein as well, just having a variety. So it's hard to pinpoint one food, because just experiment with your vegetables, experiment with your fruits. Here in the US especially, we do not eat enough of that at all. And fiber too. Surprisingly, something that I talk about with my clients is your elimination. I ask them, are you pooping every day? Because if you're not, you're holding on to those toxins, and it's coming out in your skin, and we need to be pooping at least once a day, if not more. We have to get that out.
Some people some holistic practitioners can look at skin and map out the health of different organs based on the presentation of skin issues. So like, oh, you have acne around your mouth, that means you are constipated, like that kind of thing. Do you do that, or can you look at someone's client's face and go, how's your blood sugar? Like you could just see it on their face that they're wearing their health issues,
Absolutely.
Their internal health issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially you say, your blood sugar, that type of skin will tend to have more of a sallow appearance, and it almost looks a little bit sludgy, which means that there's a slow cellular turnover. So there's kind of a backup of those skin cells. Especially acne along the jawline and down the neck is going to indicate digestion issues, hormonal issues. Acne on the forehead, that can be caused by, hair products, or you're touching your forehead a lot, or it can indicate mental health issues. Between the eyebrows and down around the sides of the nose, that can indicate thyroid issues, or again, stress. Cheeks is usually stomach, lungs. You can definitely tell what's going on internally. And then I'll look at their consultation form and say, okay, yep, that's exactly what's happening here, because you've indicated I don't eat well, or I'm really stressed. I can see that because we have acne in this particular area.
Let's go through some of the major skin health issues that people have, and what's like your, not the whole world can't come see you. So what is your best advice that you can give? So let's just go down the list. So let's start with acne. everyone listening who suffers with, and I know different types of acne, so maybe you want to talk about that. But in terms of like, what advice can you give them? The do's and the don'ts, right? What you should do, what you shouldn't do, that will really help clear up your acne that we haven't already talked about. And maybe, maybe even someone like a mom is listening and their daughter has it or their son has it. So like teenagers or something. So what do we recommend specifically? What's the best advice you can give the world about acne?
Acne is going to be nutrition. You say the teens, preteens, we're definitely starting to see acne a lot younger because of our modern day world. We're starting to hit puberty a lot earlier, unfortunately. And so we're starting to see acne as early as like 8 or 9 years old. It's pretty interesting.
Wow.
With young skin especially, you don't want to do too much of it. Too much of skincare. You don't want to take them in for, regular treatments and things like that, because this is such a young skin. It's still learning how to form itself. It's still really susceptible to the environment. It's learning how to form its skin microbiome. So we don't want to do too much to that skin. So with those younger kiddos that are starting to get that kind of prepubescent acne, cleanse and moisturize your skin. That's it. And get the diet under control. Young kiddos tend to eat a lot of sugar. So, how much candy are they eating after school with their friends, or, kind of getting that under control. With acne, dairy is going to be a big, big culprit. So, if we can minimize dairy or, get rid of it altogether, that would be ideal, because again, it's going to stimulate that IGF-1 production, that insulin growth factor 1, that's going to stimulate inflammation in the body, which is going to show up on the skin. I'm a fan of hormone testing too, throughout these different periods, especially for women. So I will actually refer them to a naturopath, or if they don't want to work with a practitioner and they don't have insurance, send them a link for the Dutch test, just so we can get an idea of what's going on hormonally in the body to see what might be driving that acne.
My mentor, Dr. Joel Wallach, says most of the time acne is a blood sugar issue, or at least blood sugar issues sustain the acne, because acne is a bacteria that's fed by sugar. So think about, you've got bacteria in a petri dish, but you only put bacteria in a petri dish. It's not going to grow. You got to give it food. And what we give it is a high processed diet, which is high in sugar, high in processed sugar. And you're just feeding that bacteria that lives under the skin, I guess, or in the skin.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting your blood sugar under control is going to help most skin conditions.
But getting your blood sugar under control is eating a healthier whole foods diet, void of processed foods. And also, if you have blood sugar issues, please check out my 3 interviews I did on mastering diabetes. Go to learntohealth.com and use the search function, search mastering by diabetes, and just outstanding men, 2 men that wrote this book, Mastering Diabetes. Also, just listen to the audiobook, Mastering Diabetes. But I think the interviews give a great preface for it, and it explains how to heal the root cause, which is healing the insulin resistance. But like you said, if we cut out the processed food and start eating whole foods, cut out oil, cut out these processed high processed fat, high processed sugar, then it helps the body come back into balance. But I've seen it with people that when they balance their blood sugar through healthy diet, through a life-sustaining, healing way of eating, not a temporary diet, that it is a reflection in their skin.
Absolutely. Just like you mentioned with your husband.
Yeah.
And it can happen very quickly. I will tell you, when I started eating just whole foods and more plant-based foods, within 2 weeks, all redness was gone out of my skin. And
So
to me,
cool.
that said, I could not believe the amount of inflammation that I had, because we just normalize these things, right? Oh,
Yep.
I have a Celtic background. That's my ancestry. I have very pale, translucent skin. So of course I'm going to have red skin. Well, actually, it's a lot of what I'm eating. So you can see those changes very quickly, but it's sustaining those changes that's going to be, the root cause of healing your
Right.
skin condition.
Yeah, a lot of my clients lose between 5 and 10 pounds their first 1 or 2 weeks of working with me. And I tell them really quickly, that wasn't necessarily fat, right? Like, cause they're like, oh my gosh, like my skin is like everything's looser. Like my pants are looser. Like they start noticing. And I say, that's inflammation left your body. Most of what, like if we did it like a DEXA scan and we could see, ounce per ounce what you lost, it wouldn't have been bone tissue. It wouldn't have been muscle. It was mostly that excess water from inflammation. Maybe you lost a few ounces of fat, but most of it was inflammation. And that's the first thing to go when you get on a healthy diet. And then you can see it in the skin because, again, the skin is the reflection of our internal health.
Absolutely. And, us as women, we kind of, again, obsess about, are we getting that, what we call turkey neck, right, under our chin? That's an accumulation of fluid and inflammation.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
You don't need surgery. You don't need whatever, injection or whatever the treatment of the week is. You don't need that. It is inflammation and it's fluid accumulation.
What is that? What is it called? It's called gosha. What's the name?
Oh, gua sha.
Gua sha. Yeah. I'm pronouncing it like a white person, like gosha. Well, it's that thing where you take a utensil and you are moving the lymph to help drain it from the body. Physical manipulation, physical lymph massage.
Yes.
Which is great and all, but if the inflammation is going to keep coming back because of your diet, so you got to do both.
Absolutely. And it can be as easy as the way that you're sleeping at night. I mean, we have to think like very minuscule. Where is this root cause happening? So one thing I notice about myself is I notice one side of my face is a lot droopier than the other. And, normally we would think, okay, I'm just getting older. I guess I need an eye lift or I need, Botox or whatever. I need something to lift this side of the face. But really, am I sleeping a certain way or do I lean a certain way? And I tend to sleep on one side of my face and I notice I kind of smush down my skin and that's what's causing it. So we have to kind of follow this investigative path. Why is this happening? And even I'm on the computer all the time. So I have an accumulation of fluid and I have neck wrinkles that are deeper because I'm always looking down because I'm on the computer or I'm writing. So if I want to change that, it doesn't have to be this dramatic thing. I have to change my neck position.
Right. Get one of those desks that like architects have.
Yes.
Where it's what you're writing on is a little bit higher. It's on an angle. I have a really healthy fear of any kind of like surgical procedure that is not life-saving. And, just like I have a healthy distrust, right? And I think we should. I don't think we should be like, oh, it's like going to the spa. Let's get a little eye tuck. Like, no, dude, you're going under for general surgery. You're going to be put under anesthesia. Like, you have a chance of dying. Like, look at Barbara Walters. Like, we've lost so many amazing women because of just stupid, vanity. And like, I wish as a society we could love women as they age. And maybe it's happening a bit more, but I really wish we could just love women at every stage in life.
Yeah,
and
that's
and
becoming
respect
a thing.
them.
It's such a huge thing. We've made it like a fun thing, right? And
Yeah.
I love that you sound like that because that's how I sound when I talk about it. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but it's a literal issue. There are, if you go to, there's an account on Instagram called Never Talks, and their website is talksafety.net.
Is it like toxic, like TOX? Or
Yes,
is it
TOX.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Never TOX.
Yes, Never
Okay.
TOX. They are huge advocates on bringing awareness to how toxic Botox and fillers are, and there are so many people that have been injured by this.
Oh, yeah. No
I
kidding.
don't know if you've seen, but I think it was last year, there was this video that was being shared around of this teen boy who was getting Botox for his migraines, which is a Band-Aid approach, of course. It's not really getting to the root cause. And he had always done it. And then just this one time he got injured by Botox, and now he has severe migraines. He has uncontrollable seizures, and he just graduated from high school. And this is like his life now.
That is so
sad. You could get these things, 99 times, and on the 100th time, congratulations, you've had life-altering poison.
And for what? For like slightly less wrinkles? Like, embrace your freaking wrinkles. Like, okay, the healthier you eat, you're gonna look younger. You go look at some raw vegans in their 70s. They look like they're in their 30s. It's insane. Like, look at people, look at their skin who eat incredibly healthy. But also, like, let's not care so much to the point where we're destroying our health. I just want a little side note. I got to share this story. I have a friend whose wife at the time really disliked the look of her face. And it's so sad because she's so beautiful. She's from a different country. They just don't, their face structure just doesn't look like the average American. Okay. She has a very tiny chin. I'm not going to say she's Asian, but she's a very petite woman of Central America, South America, and which might have some Asian in there. We're all kind of like, mutts at this point. We're all kind of mixed, but she has almost no chin, but I think she's so beautiful. Like she's petite, and she's got this her skin is beautiful, and she looks very young for her age, because again, like the genetics, right? And she goes in for surgery in LA to a plastic surgeon to have a chin implant put in. And she's on the table, and he's doing something, and she's not asleep yet. He hasn't put her under general anesthesia, but she changes her mind. She gets the intuition kicks in. And her husband's out in the waiting room, and she gets this intuition to stop, and she says, I don't want to do it. I've changed my mind. Now she's lying on the table. He hasn't given her the general anesthesia yet. She goes, I changed my mind. And he doesn't listen to her.
Oh my gosh.
It's like rape. It is you're very vulnerable in that point. But she goes, I changed my mind. He goes, nope. He basically just puts the drugs in her, sends her off to sleep. She's yelling out for her husband. He can't hear her. Okay. She wakes up. She feels she's kind of groggy, doesn't really remember everything clearly, until the anesthesia wears off when she's home. But she gets this pain in her neck. And it doesn't go away, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And her chin gets worse and worse and worse. And the pain is burning. It's intense. And her body is rejecting the implant. But the unfortunate thing is he shaved. In order to put this implant in, he shaved her bone. She had very tiny jawbone to begin with, and so she went and got it taken out by someone else, and she's now has a deformed chin. But she suffered from implant illness, which I have a whole interview called breast implant illness, and this is where we really discovered it, because breast implants are more common than like chin implants or calf implants, right? They're the most common sort of implants you could say cosmetically, and at least I'm guessing. I think that's a pretty educated guess.
Yeah.
And so I can't believe how many years it took for this to come to the light. I guess because of social media, it's like, wow, I feel really crappy and my doctor is gaslighting me. Oh, wow, I also have a breast implant and I also feel that way and my doctor's also gaslighting me. And then like all the women's voices lit up on Instagram. It's like, oh, this is actually a problem. So breast implant illness, although women have suffered with it for decades, is actually finally recognized as a thing. But many surgeons still haven't learned about it. But you can go to learntourhealth.com, type in breast implant illness, listen to that episode. But the reason why I'm talking about this is we go down this rabbit hole, like you said, because it's so appealing in the public eye. Oh, let's just get a facelift. Let's get a chin tuck. Let's get this filler put in our lips, right? Let's take the fat from my butt and put it in my lips. Let's, it's natural. It's my fat. Let's put it here. Let's do this. And every time you're doing something there to alter your appearance, first of all, you're telling your unconscious mind you're not good enough. And you don't love yourself or accept yourself the way you are. And so there's internal conflict but also there's a chance you could be doing damage that then you suffer from. And I would rather you feel beautiful the way you are and focus on feeding your cells, every cell in your body, the deepest, richest nutrition you can, so that you radiate with beauty on the outside as a result, right? And you know, if you want to go get those things done, like I support freedom of choice. Like I am one of those people. It's like, you do you, but I just want you to know the full extent of what's going on, because
it's that
most women
informed
don't.
consent. It's that informed consent.
Yeah.
That's such a heartbreaking story, and I've got one to tell you too, which is why I'm so vocal about it too. You know, I think we need to, number one, rally around each other as women. You know, if you're going to make that decision, that's fine, but you should have both sides of the story, and you should know the risks that come with that, and those aren't being talked about. And women are being bullied into this, whether the, you know, surgeon or injector means to do it or not. Usually it's a sign of their own, you know, issues that they have themselves, which is why they do what they do, and it makes money, and they can do it because of their scope of practice. But they're not getting the informed consent out there, because the companies that are making these products that are being given, they spend millions of dollars in marketing to make this practitioner believe that what they're doing is the right thing to take care of, you know, whatever issue that is. When I was teaching, I was substituting at a time, substitute teaching aesthetics. There was this young student, and she, lovely girl, just wonderful personality, adorable, beautiful, just a wonderful person. She had come in to school one day and usually always says good morning to everybody, and she just kind of went into the classroom, and I was asking the other students, you know, what's going on? Is something happen? Is everything okay? And what happened was she had gone to a filler appointment with one of her friends just as moral support, and she wasn't going to do anything. She didn't want to get that thing. She didn't believe in it, didn't want it. She told me that the injector proceeded to ask her, oh, you don't want anything done at all yourself? And she's like, no, I'm good. Oh, well, I can see, you know, this side is a little bit different than this side of your face, and we could put some filler here, and we could put some Botox here. And she's young, you know, got talked into it, and she was so upset that she did it and hated the way that her face looked. And she was in tears. And that moment changed me forever. And that's the moment that I realized that I need to be vocal about this, because that was not okay. And that is what is happening behind the scenes. It's either being looked at as this fun thing, and this is how you take care of wrinkles, or this is how you get rid of acne, or they're bullying people into getting these things. And if you're aware of this and you're doing that, shame on you. That's terrible, and it's heartbreaking.
I had a similar experience with an esthetician when I was getting, it was like my eyebrows waxed, and this is again 16 years ago, and she's like, don't you want your chin waxed? Don't you want your this? And I'm like, no. She's like, I can see this. I can see a black hair. I can see. I'm kind of like, I'll just get it with a tweezer. Like, it's just like, why do I want to wax my entire face? And she ended up just like slathering. There was also a language barrier, but she ended up slathering my neck and face with wax. And I'm sure it was the wrong temperature, because I was red for 2 weeks. Like I had,
You got burned.
yeah, it was, my skin got raised and red, and it was so painful for weeks. And all I wanted was my eyebrows done. I stopped waxing a long time ago, because I kept having these really bad experiences. That's actually happened to me twice, where the esthetician ended up just covering from neck to eyebrows my entire face, and then just peeling. And I'm like, I didn't want that. But like, once you're on the table and they're like, no, I see this, you have to do it. And then they charge you extra, because I'm like, I didn't ask for that. So it's kind of wild. You've got to be really, really protective of yourself when you're around people that are pushing these services.
Yeah, that's poor professional practice. I mean, I get it. You want to stay in business, but that's not the way to do it. And that's why you have to be an advocate for yourself. But again, it's hard to find the right person to help you with that.
Making women feel bad about themselves to sell your service, that's disgusting. And that kind of sounds like most of the beauty industry.
Yes.
So we've talked about acne, and I want to touch on, let's touch on a few of the more common skin issues. So is eczema and psoriasis, are they similar enough that you can kind of put them in the same category when it comes to, and dermatitis when it comes to giving some general homework for those people?
Yeah, absolutely. So eczema and psoriasis, they're under dermatitis-like conditions, so it's the same.
Okay.
Number one, that's going to be a genetic issue as well, so you're going to be predisposed to have that. But that's going to be very common in dry skin type conditions. So making sure that you're not stripping the skin. Your skin should never feel squeaky clean. That means you've, stripped the skin of all of its natural lipids, and we don't want that. And then making sure that we have adequate moisture. It's very simple to take care of those issues. Diet, again, is going to have a play in that. Gluten can be a big trigger for those conditions. But just kind of paying attention to what triggers those reactions. Like, I know for me, I have eczema. It's genetic. My mom has it. Corn is a trigger for me. So I can have a little bit of corn, but when my legs start getting itchy, I start getting those rough patches, I've gone overboard. So it's paying attention to those triggers. Or again, if I'm shaving does it to me. So I just really don't shave my legs that often, and I don't really care about it either.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Let's just grow our hair back, and if enough of us do it, let's just shave. You know that women didn't shave until the razor industry wanted to double their sales. So they put out media to make a shaved woman, which at the time was actually unattractive because shaved women, hairless legs and hairless underarms were associated with underage girls, and that's kind of disgusting. For a man to be attracted to, I mean, it's wrong and disgusting, right? So imagine you're an adult male, you're in your 30s or 40s, and you see a woman with no hair, that they would associate that with like a 7-year-old girl, right? So that's actually unattractive. And what they did is they had to change the minds. I think it was, I can't remember the exact timeline. It might have been the 50s, but they made commercials of women. It must have been. It was kind of in that whole movement. The similar timeline of convincing women that smoking cigarettes was associated with women's liberty. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to double the sales of cigarettes. Well, only men smoked because it was considered masculine and disgusting for women to do that. And then they put it on the media. And again, this is how much media manipulates us as a population to make us think that only drug-based medicine is effective, right? For example, they've been doing that for 100 years. But now they had us go from women who had hair on their legs and hair on their underarms. That was a sign of you're now available, right? You're now a fully grown woman, right? And you're no longer prepubescent, and you're available to be sought after, to be considered for marriage, and that was considered sexy. And then they, and I'm actually thinking of fashion where they tried to hide hair with like leggings and stuff, and then they wanted us to shave. And maybe it was earlier than the 50s, but I'm just remembering the commercials and how it shifted from, there were actually pictures in magazines in the early 1900s where there were women with hair, and that was normal, and that was considered fine. So it's just, I think we should start questioning everything. Like, why do I do this? Like, why do I shave? Why do I wear this? Why do I use this product? Why do I put on perfume? Like, we should question. Like, we don't have to douse ourselves with chemicals that cause cancer to make people like us. Like, there's alternatives, but we should start questioning the habits that we were just taught were normal, and because they're unhealthy. They're unhealthy, and we should start looking at it.
Why did they happen? I mean, there's a lot of sinister reasons for a lot of things. So you talk about being hairless too. That is very much tied to the pornography industry as well. Making yourself as a woman be bright and shiny and perfect for those sinister reasons. So that's why it's hard for me to think of in a secular way, because everything is such a spiritual issue and it's tied to a sinister reason. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in that realm that we just don't think of. So I do talk to my clients about that too. I'm like, if I could just plant that seed so you can just maybe have a think about that. But there's a great book if you're interested in the history of just the beauty industry and cosmetics and everything. It's called Beauty Imagined, and it kind of goes through the history of cosmetics and beauty, and it's really interesting because a lot of things that we do today are tied to a medical purpose. Like, it started out for a medical reason, as like, you know, the snake oil of the season, if you will, and then it's turned into what we have today. So it's just interesting to learn how we got here.
Would that be a good book for moms to give to like their daughters coming of age or teenagers, so that they understand what's behind things before they just go putting whatever makeup they see on TikTok on?
Absolutely, that one. And then there's also a book called Skin Side Out by Robin McAlpine that actually breaks down just the skin, makeup, everything in a very simple way, in a way that I've been talking about too. But it's in a book, and there's even more. So those two books would be a great gift for anybody.
The idea of chicken skin, or keratosis pilaris, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes,
you know, it's usually like, for me, it's usually like people see it on their arms. Like they feel their arms, and it's all like bumpy. And I don't know does it show up on the face?
No, not the face, but it can show up on the neck and the back. My husband actually has that, and it's all over his body. And his flares up when he eats high amounts of meat, he drinks alcohol, and doesn't moisturize his skin.
So my clients through the years, it's been 13 years that I've been helping clients to go gluten-free, which means cutting out barley, wheat, rye, and oats. Oats contain gliadin, so that goes out the door with the gluten. And not replacing it with gluten-free processed foods.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's key.
You don't, oh, now that I'm gluten-free, I'm going to eat in the gluten-free section. Nope. You can have your healthy starches from Whole Foods. But it's actually easier, which is so funny. You and I have discussed that it's, once you eat whole foods, it is infinitely cheaper and easier, and also the healthiest way to eat, because you're not opening packages. You're just like chopping up something. You know, I steam the potatoes, steam the vegetables, or saute them or bake them, and make the lentils and quinoa or brown rice or buckwheat. And there you go. It's so delicious. And sometimes we can make a sauce to go on top, and it's super yummy. But also it's super simple, and it's actually more nutrient dense, much more nutrient dense, and it's devoid of all those chemicals and processed food. But what I see with my clients for the last 13 years is those with chicken skin. And they don't even necessarily tell me they have chicken skin beforehand, because it's not like someone with chicken skin is going to go find a holistic health coach, teach them how to eat to get rid of their chicken skin, because they don't even associate that with their diet. They just go, why does my skin feel that way? Like, feel your arms, feel your forearms. Are they smooth or are they bumpy? And the bumpies go away when they cut out barley, wheat, rye, and oats, and incorporate healthier whole food starches. And that's been my experience for 13 years. That one change.
Yeah.
Cut out you can eat all the other kind of whole grains, but cut out those four. And it's really amazing how, and that again goes to if we see skin on the outside of our body not forming correctly, so psoriasis, like dermatitis, right, is not a healthy formation of skin on the outside. Same with chicken skin, not a healthy formation of skin on the outside. Is it also doing that to the inside? Is it also doing that to our intestines, which is skin? Our lungs are a type of skin. Most importantly, our cardiovascular system is a type of skin, like the inside of our arteries. Are they bumpy, inflamed, damaged, and which then can increase cardiovascular death, right? We can go down that rabbit hole. Like, how much is it similar, right? The skin on the outside, the health of the skin on the outside versus the health of the skin on the inside. So I love that people come to you, women probably mostly come to you for looking more beautiful, their most beautiful self. And what really needs to happen is a revamp to help their entire body, every single cell in their body, be the healthiest it can be.
Absolutely. And I always like to change the conversation is it's not about beauty, it's about health. And when we're healthy, we just naturally look what we would consider beautiful. So the goal is healthy. That's the goal. Healthy. Healthy skin. It's glowy, it's dewy, it has good color, less blemishes, less texture because it's functioning the way that it should be. So the goal is health, not beauty. Beauty is just a, kind of a quote side effect.
What about, am I going to say this right? Melasma, which is like, I always call them liver spots.
Those are different. So melasma is hormonal mediated pigmentation.
Okay.
So that is, I see that a lot in pregnant women. So again, hormone testing, that's key. We've got to understand what are your hormones doing. Pigmentation is really tricky because again, it depends on the degree of damage that's been done. So when we're thinking about our skin as a part of our immune system, pigment is created to protect the body. And that happens when we are exposed to the sun. So sunlight hits our eyes. Melanin stimulating hormone is stimulated to start pigmentation, so our skin can be protected. This can go awry in so many different ways. Hormones with melasma is definitely a big culprit. But what happens is this melanocyte, this is your pigment producing cell, gets overexcited and it's trying to protect us. So if there's something going on internally or externally, it will actually overproduce pigment. And that's when we see these abnormal kind of age spots or liver spots or melasma and things like that. This can be corrected sometimes, but if the damage has been done for so long, you might have that pigmentation for life. Now, there are things that we can do to lighten it and protect the skin, but the goal is how can we calm down this pigment producing cell? When we heal the skin barrier and we get the skin in a healthy state, that can send a message down through the deeper layers of your skin and down to that melanocyte. Hey, we're safe. There's nothing that we, need protection against. And that melanocyte can actually start to calm down. I've seen that in my own skin just from feeding the skin what it needs. A lot of my pigmentation has gone away without even trying to lighten the pigmentation because I've just calmed down my immune system.
And what about like those age spots or liver spots? Usually like you see them on the hands. Is that the same thing?
Same thing. And that's just going to happen with age. It's going to happen with age. So a lot of what I tell people is acceptance. I mean, and I'm doing it to myself. I'm starting to see the pigmentation on my hands and my arms. And, I noticed my grandma had that and everything. And I think, ooh, what did I do in my younger years to make this happen? I, was in the sun all the time, drank alcohol in the sun, put oil on my skin, and I've done this permanent damage. So this is why we need to talk about this, especially with the younger generations, because everything that you do from birth to around age 25 is going to kind of solidify what you're going to see in your health and on your skin later. Wow. So I did all this in my teens and early 20s, and so I solidified that damage. So that's just naturally what's going to happen.
So Dr. Wallach says that liver spots are a sign of oxidized fat, and that he sees that removing oils, like all oil from your diet, and he has a list of 12 foods that he wants everyone to avoid. One of them being those oils, and the other one being the gluten grains we talked about. But he says increase your antioxidant foods. So try to get 100 ORAC, which stands for oxygen radical absorption capacity, and it's one of the measurements for antioxidants. But 100,000 ORAC a day in your diet. So this is from a variety of, it actually goes to another Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He talks about G-bombs in the diet every day. Onions, beans, berries, greens, mushrooms, and seeds every day. Get a ton of them in, a variety of them in. You can also include very dark chocolate, small amount, and not near bedtime because there's caffeine in it naturally, but like a small amount of dark chocolate every day, green tea, these other really high antioxidant foods, and there's certain spices like obviously turmeric, and then including a little bit of black pepper with that every day, increasing, and ginger, clove, cinnamon. These are wonderful high antioxidant spices and herbs. And through that, sometimes women see, like you said, it lightens up, it goes away, but at least we're preventing it from like further damage also. I've also had clients where skin tags have literally fallen off their body. Their body stopped producing skin tags and they fell off. Have you had that experience?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Isn't that
when
cool?
you increase your antioxidants, that can definitely help reverse some of the damage for sure. And it's interesting the changes that you see.
Right. It's wild. Okay, so I'm sure that women that want to help heal their skin are kind of on the edge of their seat when it comes to like, well, how can I work with you? So let's talk about that. You have your website, saltoftheearthskin.com, where you love to educate. So there's a lot of, free information. You got your blog out there. And then people can also work with you one-on-one and then also in person if they're local to you. But can you talk a bit about what it's like to be one of your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I especially work with people in the Western US because we don't have a lot of people that practice like I do out this way. All you have to do is go to my website and schedule an advanced skin analysis, and we do everything over Google Meet. Once you schedule your appointment, there will be an intake form that you'll fill out that gives me kind of insight on, your diet, your lifestyle, where you grew up for the first 25 years of your life, what medications, supplements that you're taking, because sometimes those can be a cause of skin issues. And then we work over a video call to kind of, get that general advice for you. I craft a report for you to kind of let you know what these habits that you are doing or foods that you're eating, how they might be contributing to the health of your skin and any skin issues you may be having. And then a starter skincare set is included in that as well. And then we just continue to work virtually on these lifestyle changes. It's kind of like health coaching, but for skin in a way. And then when I have, people who have more complicated issues with nutrition, then of course I just send them your way. Because that's your wheelhouse and my wheelhouse is skin.
And if I have someone with skin issues, I will send them your way.
Yeah.
Because you're amazing. We kind of talked about the more popular stuff, but are there any other skin issues you have not, or diagnoses we have not mentioned yet that you get really great results with and you want to definitely mention?
It's really all skin issues. Mostly what I see is people concerned with aging, acne, and rosacea. I can help most all skin conditions because the goal is to heal the skin barrier and just feed the skin topically what it needs. And when you do that, a lot of issues start to heal on their own. So there's a lot of education and just information that I give you.
Nice. A really dear friend of mine was born with ichthyosis. 70 or more % of her body was covered in acute ichthyosis, which means fish skin. And that's what she looked like. And there would be chunks of her skin that would just fall off of her. She looked almost like she was made of gravel, like fine, like a smaller kind of gravel that would just fall off. Her dad had it so bad that he is actually in all of the textbooks. If you go look in medical literature, and there's pictures of her dad because they studied him so extensively that they took so many pictures of him that his picture to this day is in the textbooks. She would eat very clean, and she made all her own skincare, and she would have to spend hours massaging her skin, massaging it into her skin every day, just so she wouldn't crack and bleed. And she ate very clean. She took supplements, and she believed in taking care of herself in that way, but she still basically just had it. And then this was about 13 years ago, I introduced her to Dr. Joel Wallach, who's my mentor. And he was actually in Toronto at the time. I'm from Toronto. She was living in Toronto. And he was, that very day, was giving a health lecture. So she drove like a good probably 2 hours in traffic to get to him on the other side of Toronto. And she brought up at the end of his health lectures, and now he does it online because, COVID, he just started he stopped also like 86, but he's amazing. He gives health lectures all the time, and he's been doing that for over 30 years. He was answering questions as he does for hours until every single person has their question answered. And she puts her hand up and she says, I have ichthyosis. And he goes, and I bet the doctor said it was genetic and that's the reason why you have it and you can never get rid of it. And she goes, yep. And he yells at the top of his lungs, they're wrong. They're lying. And he proceeds to tell her, okay, this is exactly what I want you to do. He gets her off the 12 bad foods. One of them, like we already talked about, the oil, the fried food, the gluten grains. He gets her on different supplements, and then he has her take a handful of higher dose based on what he knows to help, right? So higher amounts of A and E, and we watched her. And so she avoided bad foods. She still was eating. She was eating very clean, but she avoided the 12 bad foods. She added the supplements. She added a few extra, like at higher dose. Within 3 years, she had the worst her skin was slightly dry in the winter. We watched her skin transform, and she was in her 50s, and she had that her entire life. And it was remarkable to watch the transformation, and the rest of her family, because it's, quote unquote genetic, all her family has it. But when I see genetics don't pull the trigger, nutrition does.
Exactly.
So
That's
same
amazing.
her family, all her family has it. All her family related to her dad, right, has ichthyosis to a certain extent, but they all have the same nutrient deficiencies. They all come from the same region, eat the similar food, the similar style. So they all have the same nutrient deficiencies. And she completely got rid of it. And her family didn't want to follow in her footsteps because, it's too hard to give up the bad foods, or they just want to eat junk food. I'm like, yeah, but do you really want like cracking, bleeding skin that just falls off your body? Like, does that anyway? So
Yeah.
some people some people won't give up the junk food. They don't want it. They don't want to they'd rather have their addiction than the health. And that's frustrating, but it's also that freedom of choice thing. And I'm sure that like God is like, could you just imagine being God, be like, I gave you freedom of choice. What are you doing with it? Like, what are you doing? But when we have the information, at least we can spread the information, and then people can make informed choices. So, she was able to completely live without ichthyosis based on a few health changes, but it had nothing to do with what she was putting on her skin.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a prime example. And just because you have a genetic condition, that doesn't mean, okay, there's nothing we can do or take this drug. There's a nutritional deficiency or a gene deficiency. So what can we do to work with that? So that's a prime example. That's amazing. And also a great example about how long it can take to heal a condition. So that's where that patience comes in hand as well.
And it was healing over time. Yeah. But it was like by the 3-year mark, all the worst it was at times she might have dry skin.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, that was she went from the worst ichthyosis you could possibly imagine to slightly dry skin at times, like within 3 years. And it got better from there, which was really cool to see. So much of, I think we've established that so much of skin health has to do with our internal health and our diet. But I love that you also want to protect us and shed light on how many toxic things are in our life, and in the habits that are being spread, the misinformation that's being spread. I would never put on my skin what's sold at a local drugstore. Like, you go down those aisles, most of those brands are actually made by pharmaceutical industry. And most of those brands are like, I'm just talking about like body creams, face creams in general, just like things to put on your skin. Most of it has petroleum-based ingredients. And I would not put that on my skin because it gets absorbed into my body. Why would I want to put that in? Would you take a bath in gasoline? Like why would I put those chemicals in my body? And you take it, definitely, you take skincare a step further, but I love that you're looking at creating the health as a whole. Wonderful. So listeners can go to your website, can check out saltoftheearthskin.com. Of course, the links to everything we talked about today is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntruehealth.com. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up today's interview? Is there anything you wanted to make sure that you shared with us?
I mean, I think it's just stressing that, God made you the way that you are. You don't need to change your appearance. Get your stress under control. Get your nutrition dialed in. And, when it comes to the topical recommendations, yes, the skin has its own recipe, but everybody's so individual. So what works for one person or your friend or your mom is not going to be the same thing that works for you. But if you can focus on stress and nutrition, I mean, that does wonders.
And what worked for you in the past might not always work for you, as you said. That's something that we need to be aware of. And I think we also need to be aware of not beating ourselves up. Like, oh, that worked for other person. Why doesn't it work for me? Or, oh, that worked, the esthetician I went to said this would work for me. And why isn't it not working? Or the person on Instagram said it would work. And why isn't it working for me? I am wrong. Something's wrong with me. I am broken. No, that they failed you. You didn't fail you. They failed you.
Yes, absolutely. And get off social media. If you find yourself getting down, throw your phone down and go for a walk.
Love it. Yes, go for a walk. Hey, someone gave you that advice.
Exactly. You did.
That is some of the greatest advice for clearing the head, clearing the cobwebs. Go for a walk, do some deep breathing, get 20 minutes of sunlight every day, right? Get out there and that's small doses of sunlight's healthy for so many reasons. But yeah, go for a walk, but try not to walk in a highly trafficked area. If you can walk in nature, you could walk in a park.
Absolutely.
Or down by a river or lake or something, then do that. Well, it was wonderful, Lindsey, having you on the show. Thank you for enlightening us. I definitely learned some things today. This was a lot of fun, and I know that you're going to be hearing from some of my listeners because it's so intriguing and also it's so individual. So, I'm excited to hear how that works for them, and also, hey, Lindsey's in our Facebook group. So come to the Learn True Health Facebook group also. Sometimes you pop in and answer some cool skin questions. And I always learn something from you, so I love it. So thank you for today. This was nice.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashley.
And as you heard me share before about the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, it's an incredible opportunity to check out their free course and also check out the class that is starting soon. So if you're interested in becoming a health coach or just checking out the free training, go to learntruehealth.com/coach. And when you sign up, use coupon code LTH, you're going to get a great discount. Even if you're super busy, you can fit it into your schedule. If you have time to listen to my podcast, you have time to become an integrative health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and rock your world, bringing joy and clarity and fulfillment to every area of your life. IIN is not just about what you eat. It's about examining and uplifting and bringing joy into every single area: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, friendships, community, connection. It really is about living a full life and then learning how to help others do the same. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you're going to want to check it out. learntruehealth.com/coach, coupon code LTH.